Are more Halloween movies coming after Halloween Ends? How's it going, guys? Welcome to the channel. As always, my name is Jimmy Champagne, and if you like monsters, slashers, pretty much any movie shot during, set during, or inspired by the 1980s, this is the channel for you. I just realized I'm super close to 50,000 subscribers, so if you're a new viewer or you're someone who's coming back and hasn't subscribed yet, help me out by clicking that red button down below, and if you're feeling extra generous, click the bell next to the subscribe button and set your notifications to all. Thank you. I appreciate you. All right, so in today's video, I've got two big updates for you guys. The first one is about Halloween Horror Nights, and the second one is about more sequels after Halloween Ends, because things got pretty interesting on the press junket for The Black Phone. We'll start out with Halloween Horror Nights. I've talked about this 1,000 times on the channel, but one of the hardest things about moving out to California right after college was losing seasons. My favorite time of year is obviously the fall, because Halloween is my favorite day of the year, and I always try to get another trip in there, like going to Salem, Massachusetts, or one year I went to Telluride, Colorado for the horror festival there. It was super fun. One thing I make sure I never miss though out here in Los Angeles is Halloween Horror Nights. I've gone 6 times in the past 6 years, even though they canceled it one year because I went twice one year. So yeah, I love it. They do a great job bringing my favorite movies to life, and I think it's cool that they cover the classics like the slashers we like from the 80s and also bring some newer movies to life as well. They've definitely had some bangers over the years like Halloween 2, Halloween 4, The Exorcist, Trick or Treat, Stranger Things, like tons of my favorite franchises, but this year they're gonna have the Holy Grail that I've never been able to experience, Halloween 1978. And you know it's going to be one of the bigger haunts at Halloween Horror Nights this year because they actually made a full-on trailer for it. They've got a woman watching a scary movie at home, then the classic theme kicks up, the color grading is on point, and then Michael Myers shows up, and we're just gonna ignore the fact that the costume I would call mediocre. It's not great, it's not terrible. I've definitely seen worse, but I've definitely seen better, specifically in my own fan film, Happy Halloween. I think we got a really good 1978 costume in that. I am going to toot my own horn there. I deserve it. All jokes aside though, the fact that they made a trailer for this haunt is making me think that it's going to be a bigger one, because usually like when Halloween 4 comes back, that shares the same haunted house layout as something like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 or House of a Thousand Corpses. Like all of those use the same structure if I remember correctly. So they changed the decorations inside and all that stuff, but you can kind of tell that you're walking through the same rooms. And then same thing with Trick or Treat, Halloween 2, and The Exorcist. They all use the same general house layout. So this year, the fact that they're making a trailer for this haunt, I'm thinking it's going to be down in the back lot, like down the huge escalators at Universal Studios where they do the bigger haunts like Krampus or Ghostbusters, or one year they had Freddy vs. Jason. If it fills the spot of any of those houses, or even bigger ones like the Stranger Things haunt, that is going to be incredible, because those are the ones that they really go all out on in terms of theming. I've been to a ton of these things, and the two that stand out the most for me besides Trick or Treat, because that one's always perfect, is the Krampus one, because of the snow effects that they had. Like they had the DHL driver with the frozen icicles coming out of his nose walking around the line, and that stuck with me. And also the Freddy vs. Jason one. They got the red and the green color grade. They had awesome costumes. It was legitimately scary to the point where it made my fiance like so scared that we kind of had to sit down and take a break for a little while. I loved that haunt. So if they can match that with Halloween 1978, and they totally should because it's such an iconic movie, I'm gonna be stoked. I also think it's kind of weird that we've never seen a Halloween 2018 or Kills haunt. I'm hoping after Halloween Ends, they kind of get a trilogy haunt set up for possibly next year. It's weird because they obviously have a great relationship with Blumhouse, because I talked about this in my last video, but they've done a Blumhouse intro haunt before, and this year Blumhouse is back with the haunt based on the grabber from The Black Phone, and then the killer that Vince Vaughn plays, I forgot his name, from Freaky, and I feel like that's going to be awesome. So I feel like they should eventually, or at least like in the next couple years, do a haunt based on this new trilogy of Halloween movies that Universal distributed. It seems like a no-brainer. So yeah, last year's Halloween Horror Nights, it was definitely good to be back, but it left a little bit to be desired. There were less haunts and they were less elaborate than they've been in the past. It seems like this year they're really back in the swing of things, at least out here in Los Angeles. So I will be there, of course. I cannot miss a year of Halloween Horror Nights. So yeah, if you go and you're excited to go and you see me, make sure you stop me and say hi. I always get people there talking to me and it's super fun. Next up, while we wait for the Halloween Ends trailer, let's talk about these reshoots and a potential sequel. So Jason Blum loves going on the junket trail for his new movies. He's a great promoter of the movies that Blumhouse makes, and The Black Phone is no different. And I really think it's cool that he's doing interviews for this movie because this is an original IP. I know it's actually an adaptation of a short story, but in terms of horror movies, it's a new original horror movie, which we don't get a lot of those, and it's doing really well in the theaters. So yeah, I'm glad that he's out there really promoting it, because a lot of other studios, they just throw these things out there with no marketing, and then they're like, man, why did that do poorly in the box office? Well, you didn't market it. So of course, while the hype is building for the Halloween Ends trailer, a bunch of people were asking him about potential sequels and reshoots and what's going to happen with the franchise after Halloween Ends. The first thing he let the interviewer know is that he's actually seen Halloween Ends, which we knew because he tweeted about it back in May, and I responded, I asked him how was it, and he didn't answer, which I feel like, you know, you dropped the ball there, Jason Blum. There's a lot of Halloween fans following me that would have loved to hear what you thought about Halloween Ends. I'm just saying on that front. But yeah, he said he saw the movie and that they're going back, making a couple changes, fixing things up so that they perfect it. I think that was a great way to handle the question, because we've also heard some leaks through verified Twitter leakers who leak stuff all the time that they're going back for 2 weeks of reshoots back in Savannah, Georgia. At this point, those might be over. I think they happened earlier in the month, but when those reshoots were happening, there were a lot of rumors coming out that basically said, if you're expecting this movie to be Laurie Strode versus Michael Myers going around town in Haddonfield killing people, and that's the only plot we have, you're going to be disappointed, because they're doing something kind of different here where there's going to be more villains. And honestly, that gets me really excited, because we've had that plot, right? Like, we had the first movie where it was Laurie versus Michael. We had the sequel, Halloween Kills, where it was like the ultimate slasher movie. And now we're going to get a different movie with new villains on top of Michael Myers. And that obviously makes me think of Halloween 3, because David Gordon Green keeps dropping hints about Halloween 3 in all of these Halloween movies that he makes. We've had all three masks in both movies. We've also had the radio tower, which in my mind is linked to the TV broadcast that happens with the Silver Shamrock ad on Halloween night and Halloween 3. I like the idea of Halloween becoming an annual franchise again, where it's going to be an anthology. And I feel like versus the 80s, where Michael Myers was new, and after 2 movies, people really wanted to see him every single year, now we're in the 2020s where we've had a lot of Michael Myers. You can give us a break in between these sort of reboots or remakes where you bring that character back and have him terrorize the town of Haddonfield with Halloween set anthology movies that are original every year. It kind of is like perfect for Blumhouse, which brings me to the next point here, where Jason Blum is very clear that this, for now, is going to be the last Blumhouse Halloween movie. I'm not going to read the exact quote because that gets kind of boring, but basically what he said is that after this movie, the rights go back to Malik Akkad, and he can do with them what he pleases, like he's always done when a deal is over. And that leaves some very interesting options here, because you know there's going to be more Halloweens after this. Trancast Media, Malik Akkad's company, they basically only have Halloween, like that is their only moneymaker, so they're not going to leave it dormant for too long. And basically what I think is it depends on how much money Halloween Ends makes, because you're only as big as your last box office take. You know, it's great that Halloween Kills made a bunch of money. It's great that Halloween 2018 made a ton of money. It really all rides on Halloween Ends, because if Universal and Blumhouse teaming up again produces a Halloween movie that makes an absolute metric fuck ton of money, Malik Akkad would be an idiot to not come back and negotiate an even bigger deal for another trilogy of movies. And I'm crossing my fingers here that it is the anthology I was just talking about. The other option is that Halloween Ends doesn't make a ton of money, and then Malik Akkad brings the rights back into Trancast, and then he takes a bunch of pitches from other studios like New Line Cinema, Sony Pictures, Spyglass, and Paramount, the team that made Scream 5 and is now making Scream 6, and they're also working on a Hellraiser movie reboot. There's a ton of different options here that they could go with. There's a bunch of different ways this could go, but for me personally, I'm excited about all of them, which I feel like never happens. If Blumhouse gets the rights back, they can go with Michael Myers or not in the future, and I think they'll probably do a pretty good job. I don't think we're going to have David Gordon Green come back, but that's cool because they'll get a new director on board who can kind of bring their own voice to the Michael Myers mythos, and I think some really cool stuff could be done with it, because I don't think it's going to get as corny as what we saw with the later sequels like Halloween 5, Halloween 6, and even to some extent H2O, and definitely Halloween Resurrection. And as for the other option, which it goes to a different studio and gets completely rebooted, if you asked me a year ago, I definitely wouldn't have been excited about that, but now that I've seen The Batman, which is like another reboot of Batman, and it's so damn good, if they get the right person involved at a different studio and have Michael Myers rebooted once again, maybe even in a different timeline, or they do something completely new with a full-on remake and just keep Michael Myers as he is, like scary in the black jumpsuit with the classic mask we know and love, I feel like something cool could come from that. The point is, I just want more Halloween movies in perpetuity, and I know there's gonna be some guy in the comments who thinks he's a genius being like, ooh, I don't like sequels, there needs to be some originality in horror. And my response to that is there's a ton of new original horror coming out all the time, and the people who complain about there not being enough horror don't go to see it. There's a bunch of dumb fuck reasons that come up on Twitter every time a new original horror movie comes out about why they're gonna wait for streaming or not see the movie in theaters or not rent it for full price. And yeah, you do you on that one, but if you want more original horror, actually start supporting it and put your money where your mouth is. And in the meantime, I'm gonna enjoy all of it like I have my entire life. Like, I don't know, I love Halloween, I love Nightmare on Elm Street, I also love A24 movies, and I really like The Black Phone. I thought it was a great movie, so sue me for just loving every horror movie that comes out. I mean, I'm one of those people who is first in line for every single Conjuring movie, even The Nun, which was horrible. My one demand here as someone with absolutely no power or pull is that Chris Nelson and his team are the people making the masks for Michael Myers going forward. They have done such a god tier job on all three of these movies, and I'm saying all three because I've seen a mask that's being used in Halloween Ends, and I talked about it in my last video if you didn't catch it, that I want to see them continue to work on the franchise going forward. I think they're going to do a great job no matter what. But yeah, either way, I think the future is bright for Halloween. There is no chance in my mind that this franchise just goes away after Halloween Ends. I think we got some really cool stuff to look forward to in the future. I've even heard rumors that the game, the long rumored game that people have been talking about forever, is finally in production in the works. I don't think it's in production at Gun Media, but I've heard some pretty strong rumors from people I trust that it is in development, and that is pretty cool. So yeah, either way, future of Halloween is bright. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.